Hey guys, it's John. You're on the JRB Tree Climbing channel. Continuing our exploration of the JRB Cinch, the next logical question, given that you've seen me climb on a double JRB Cinch system configured on one rope, the next obvious question is, well, how do I bypass branches? Well, this is actually an area where the JRB Cinch has a little advantage over the Maverick hitch in that it's got a little mass to it, so it's easier to hang it over a branch. So I'm going to take the carabiner, I'm going to clip it on the end of the rope. If you're not familiar with the cinch, see the dedicated page on my website, jrbtreeclimbing.com, and see the dedicated playlist for the cinch. We're skipping over all of that background and getting on with the business of bypassing a branch. But I'm going to hang it on here like this. And let's say I'm climbing this tree here, okay? You got to picture me up in the air. I want to keep you in view. We can do this demonstration from the ground. And I want to climb the straight trunk on the right side of this tree and bypass the large branch on the left. In order to do so, it's when I'm planning my route up the tree, regardless of what direction I want to be facing when I get to the top, we want to plan a route relative to those branches. So I don't want to be in the back side of the tree here because it's harder to see that branch. I'm better off underneath it or just to the side of it, because that allows me to do this. I'm just going to take the cinch and I'm going to drop it in the tree crotch and then pull my pole down. And standing in the same location, I can hook it and bring it back to me. Now, if I affix the cinch here, well, I'd be climbing the branch instead of the trunk. I want to be able to move it around the other side. Now, this is important because I only have one branch to deal with. If there was a branch coming out of the tree back here where my hand is, this might be a problem. We've got to plan our routes carefully. So for this tree, one branch, no problem. I'm going to affix my cinch. I'm going to engage the Maverick Pole, and I'll draw slack out as I raise it. I'll get it where I want on the tree, and I've got, if I were navigating another one after this, I would choose this location carefully. But let me try to hope you're in view. I'll back it down just a little bit here. I could reach a little higher, and I'll cinch it on the tree. I don't recommend using your pole to retrieve the cinch. I've done it a bit, but I am concerned that the telescoping sections should come out. In a normal climb, well, we would just climb to that location and then we would remove it manually or via our retrieval line. But just showing off, if I break that with, so far I haven't broken my pole, but it's just a matter of time if I continue to use it that way. Let's go check something out that's a little bit more complicated. Okay, now I recognize the lighting is not ideal, but I'll talk you through this. So this tree right here, I've got a branch which is just out of reach. It's right here. I'm wiggling it. Right, so I have that branch that's in my way. And I've got another branch up here, but there's no branches on the back side of this tree. And I want to get my cinch in as high as I can. So again, I'm going to put the carabiner through the ring, give it some mass. I'm going to put it on. And because I am facing the side of the tree with both branches, it makes it easier for me, especially if this was a thick tree. So if you can see what's going on here, I am dropping off my cinch. I'm just dropping it off over the branch. Taking my Maverick pole off of the line, and now I could pull that down to me, but I want to make sure that this branch and any other branches, if possible, if they're on the same side of the tree, I want to straddle them. I want to go on either side, because what this is going to allow me to do is, now that I've got it down to me, I'll pass it behind the tree. There's no branches on the back side. And I will affix my cinch here. I'll put my Maverick pole on, right? I haven't relocated myself at all. And as I push it up, I take slack out. And of course, you're trying to be optimally quiet. You're going to have to rehearse this, lean the pole away from the tree, and try to avoid smacking the pole onto the cinch ring. But I've got it right now to the point where I can advance it just a little further. And now I'm cinching it on, facing me, bringing my pole down, and I'd climb. Let's go find another tree. Okay, so let's have you watch one zoomed in. Here comes my pole carrying the cinch. And by the way, that's about as high as I can reach. You need a little bit of working room. I'm going to drop that off. Now see how I was carrying it here? I was carrying it with the tether. And I find that to be not as reliable as when I carry it with the rope itself. When I carry it with the rope itself, I find this to be an easier drop off. So I just pop it on and then allow my Maverick pole to slide down the line. And I've got no branches around the tree on this one, so I can simply pull it down, and as I run it up the tree, as I come into view for you here, as I come into tree, I'm pulling slack out. Now it's important that we manage our pole direction, because if we don't want any clink, if I'm too vertical, that possibility exists. So you kind of figure this out quickly about which way to lean it and try to avoid contact. But it's definitely more likely in this scenario than it is when we're just running it up the tree. All right, I'm going to walk just as high as I can. That's about as high as I can reach. I'll push up on the pole while pulling down on the rope, and a little bit of bounce and wiggle, a little bit of bounce and wiggle, and there I go, ready to climb. Okay, so now let's talk about a scenario that really wouldn't work out so well. So look at this big giant behind me. I'm standing on the ground, but let's say I climbed here. If I want to go up this trunk here on the left side of the tree, and I've got this great big branch, well, I'm sorry to say, but even if I could manage dropping off a cinch, I don't want to tie it. I don't want to tie it to this branch. I want it around the trunk. I want it around the trunk. So again, no rehearsal here. That's a little noisy because I had to chuck it a little bit, right? But I am able to pull it down. But here's the problem. Although I could run it up there and affix it to this point, I got to carefully manage the rest of my climb. If I get myself too close to being stuck under this branch, I won't be able to navigate the rest of the tree. And so this is not an ideal situation. What I would need to do is plan another route, or quite frankly, this is the kind of tree that I would love to just whip out a throw ball, because there's plenty of crotches up there. Okay, let's do one more. Let's say, again, I'm up off the ground and I'm at this location and I've got a lot of branches. I've got one here, I've got one here, I've got a small one here, I've got another one here. We've got to plan our route. We want line of sight to our anchor and a way to get our rope there. Now, the way that most trees grow in the forest is towards the light. So we are about 20 yards from a field edge, and this tree's branches, there's no branches on the back side. The big woods are behind us. And so I can leverage that. I can take my cinch and I can make line of sight to the highest branch there is. Might be a little out of view here, but I think you can follow along. I can drop it off. I can go around the back, and if I can work the line of sight angle to this thing, then I can get it down. And so even like here, I'm even able to use my hands to get there. Any way that you can get line of sight to your anchor. I probably could have done that. Well, I couldn't have dropped it off. I can't quite reach without the pole, but once it's down, I can get it there. Every tree is going to be unique. The more branches, the more problems. And don't forget about retrieval can be a problem. But all the junk is below me. And so now that I've got it there, I can walk this up a little further. Okay, so I realize you're thinking about this cinch system in terms of a climbing method, but you can also think of it in terms of an accessory. Imagine you're executing a DSRT climb and the only tree around had a crotch at 15 feet and you wanted to have your feet even higher than 15 feet. No problem. You can hit that with throw ball in one throw, climb to it very quickly, and if I have a JRB cinch on the one end of my line, I can whip out my pole and advance it up high enough to get my feet over that branch. And if you've heard me say it before, I love just using a branch for positioning. I don't bring a platform unless I need one, and you might not believe this, but in the last 15 years, although I brought a platform a few times last year, I've never actually had one under my feet when I took an archery buck. I've always just been positioning off a branch. And so I'm not telling you need to do that. I'm just opening your eyes in terms of the realm of possibilities. We're saddle hunters, we're mobile, and therefore we can be as minimal as we want to be as long as we can be comfortable. All right, guys, keep the questions coming. Thank you.